Take her ventilator. I heard the words before I understood them. The ICU was dark except for the blue glow of machines around my bed. I was awake, but my body wouldn't answer me. My fingers wouldn't curl, my mouth wouldn't open. Even my eyelids felt glued shut from the sedation. Then Dr. Victor Hale's voice came again, calm and sharp. The VIP gets it. Someone beside him sucked in a breath. Doctor, she's still on it. She's stable enough, Dr. Hale said. Move. A hand touched the tubing near my face. Inside my chest, panic exploded. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. The machine that had been breathing for me clicked once. Then the air stopped. For 1 second, nobody moved. A respiratory therapist whispered, "Is she conscious?" Dr. Hale answered, "She won't remember any of this." That was when I knew opening my eyes would be the biggest mistake of my life. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The curtain around my bed had been ripped half open. Beyond it, I heard wheels racing across the ICU floor, security radios crackling, and someone shouting, "Private entrance is clear." The VIP patient had arrived like a storm. Everyone moved faster for him, louder, sharper, like his life had weight and mine had become equipment. I was Larine, 19 years old, bed 14, pneumonia patient, no parents at my bedside, no important last name, no family lawyer in the hallway. Just me trapped under a blanket, listening as a doctor decided I was less valuable. A nurse's hand closed around my wrist. Elena. Her thumb pressed lightly against my pulse. I felt her go still when my heart rate jumped. Another doctor asked, was ethics approval signed? Dr. Hale snapped, "Do you want that donor dead before sunrise?" Donor. Not patient. Donor. The room went quiet except for my monitor, screaming the truth my body couldn't say. Elena leaned close enough that I felt her breath near my ear. "Don't react," she whispered. "If they know you heard this, they'll finish it." Then Dr. Hale said from the foot of my bed, "Update her chart. Respiratory failure at 2:13 a.m. The oxygen bag above me squeezed with a soft hiss. One breath. Then another. It wasn't steady like the ventilator had been. Every inhale felt weak, shallow, unfinished. My chest burned harder each time the manual airflow stopped for even a second. I kept my eyes shut. Someone moved beside my bed, fabric rustled, then Elena whispered, camera turning. A second later, cold air rushed through my mask stronger than before. She increased my oxygen. My pulse monitor immediately slowed. Careful, another nurse muttered nervously. If Hale checks the settings. I know, Elena snapped quietly. Footsteps approached, and both women instantly fell silent. I stayed perfectly still, while memories pushed through the fog in my head. Earlier that afternoon, before all this happened, Dr. Hale had actually told me I was improving. Your lungs are responding, he'd said. Maybe another 2 days on support. 2 days. That was before the VIP arrived. Before I became disposable. I worked evenings at a grocery store before getting sick. My little sister, Nia, was probably still sleeping in our apartment, thinking I was getting better. We didn't have parents showing up demanding answers. No rich relatives. Nobody important calling the hospital. Just Elena. She was the only person who'd treated me like I still mattered. Hours passed in fragments of voices and machine alarms. Then I heard Elena arguing with Dr. Hale behind the partially open medication room door nearby. You said she was non-responsive, Elena said. She practically was. She heard you. A dangerous silence followed. Then Hale's voice lowered. You want to keep your license, stay quiet. My stomach tightened. So it wasn't just me, the staff were scared of him too. Later, I heard nurses whispering near the station. Why were her chart notes changed after midnight? Stop asking questions. Security guards suddenly appeared outside the ICU doors. One stayed near my room. That was when Elena slipped something beneath my blanket. A phone. If you can move one finger, she whispered near my ear, press record. I tried. Nothing. Tears burned behind my closed eyes, as I listened to people decide whether I deserved to live. Then footsteps entered my room. Dr. Hale. He stood beside my bed long enough that I could hear his breathing over the monitors. My oxygen levels had climbed. Too fast. I felt him staring at me. Then he quietly said, "I think our patient may be more aware than we thought." By morning, the ICU sounded nothing like a hospital. It sounded like a political event. Reporters crowded somewhere near the lobby downstairs. I could hear muffled shouting through the hall speakers every time the ICU doors opened. Security guards moved constantly now, their radios crackling every few seconds. Media asking about the senator's son again. Keep them away from intensive care. Administration wants full silence from staff. The VIP had a name now. And suddenly, everyone in the hospital cared more about protecting him than treating patients. I lay frozen in bed, while Dr. Hale gave a briefing just outside my room. She suffered catastrophic respiratory decline before reassignment, he told a small group of administrators. Resources were allocated according to survivability. Reassignment. That was the word he used for stealing my ventilator while I was awake. One administrator asked quietly, any risk of legal exposure? No, Hale answered immediately. Her prognosis was already poor. I wanted to scream so badly my jaw hurt. Elena appeared an hour later, moving faster than usual, angry. She checked my IV, then leaned closer to another nurse and whispered, "The timestamps were altered." "What?" "The inventory logs too." My pulse spiked. Elena hurried to a computer terminal across the ICU. I watched her through barely opened lashes as she typed furiously. Seconds later, she printed something and stared at it in disbelief. "There was another ventilator," she said. A nearby nurse froze. "What?" It was marked reserved before the VIP even arrived. For the first time, the story stopped making sense. This wasn't emergency triage. This had been planned. An administrator rushed toward Elena before she could say more. "You need to step away from the system." "There wasn't a shortage," Elena shot back loudly. Several nurses looked over immediately. The administrator's face hardened. "You are dangerously close to suspension." She nearly died for no reason. Security arrived within seconds. Nobody defended her. Not one person. I finally managed to move my right hand 2 inches beneath the blanket. My fingers brushed the hidden phone. Barely breathing. I pressed the screen until audio recording started. Outside the ICU windows, camera flashes exploded as the VIP patient's family praised Dr. Hale to reporters. "He saved our son's life," someone said proudly. Meanwhile, 2 orderlies stopped outside my room. "When are they transferring her out?" "Soon," the other answered. "They need the room permanently cleared." A few minutes later, Dr. Hale signed paperwork at the nurse's station. I caught one sentence before he flipped the page. "Irreversible decline prior to ventilator removal." My blood ran cold. Then Elena's voice suddenly echoed down the ICU hallway as security dragged her backward toward the elevators. "Check storage unit B before he destroys the evidence." After Elena disappeared, the ICU changed. Nobody spoke above a whisper anymore. Nurses avoided my room unless absolutely necessary. Security guards stayed planted outside the doors like prison officers. Every few minutes, someone walked past carrying folders or unplugging computers. The hospital wasn't trying to save itself anymore. It was trying to hide. Dr. Hale entered my room with another physician just after noon. "We need her transferred before investigators start asking questions," the other doctor said nervously. "She's in no condition to testify," Hale replied. "By tonight this will be paperwork, not a story." They thought I couldn't hear them. That mistake was the only reason I survived. The second they left, I forced every ounce of strength into my right hand. My fingers twitched across the blanket until they found the hidden phone. It took 3 tries to unlock it. My hand shook violently as the screen lit up. A recording file was already open. Elena had started it hours earlier. Static crackled through the speaker. Then I heard Dr. Hale's voice. Take her ventilator, the VIP gets it. My heart slammed against my ribs. Proof. Real proof. I opened my messages with trembling fingers and sent the recording to Nia along with one sentence. They tried to kill me. The effort drained everything out of me. The phone slipped sideways against my leg just as footsteps passed my room again. An hour later, chaos exploded across the ICU. Who leaked that audio? Turn off the televisions. Get legal down here now. A nurse rushed past holding her phone up to another staff member. Even from my bed, I could hear my own monitor beeping faintly through the viral recording blasting from the speaker. Outside the hospital, protesters began gathering near the entrance. News anchors repeated the same sentence over and over. Take her ventilator, the VIP gets it. For the first time since this started, people were finally hearing me. But Dr. Hale still refused to break. She was already dying, he told investigators near the nurses' station. The recording lacks context. Then another voice shouted from down the hallway. They found a ventilator in storage B. Silence. Complete silence. Every clue suddenly locked together in my mind. The altered charts. The reserved inventory. The security lockdown. The fake shortage. Alina hadn't been imagining any of it. Dr. Hale realized it too. I saw the exact second panic hit his face. She copied records, he muttered. Find her. Fast footsteps thundered toward my room. Then the ICU doors burst open. Federal investigators stormed inside. One of them raised a badge and shouted, "Nobody leaves this floor." The next 6 hours destroyed everything Dr. Hale had built. Federal investigators sealed the ICU before hospital executives could touch another computer. Staff members were separated into empty patient rooms and questioned individually. I watched agents disconnect backup servers while administrators argued in panicked whispers near the nurses' station. It's a misunderstanding. You can't seize those records without. We already have the warrant, an investigator cut in. For the first time since I'd entered that hospital, Dr. Hale looked uncertain. Then Alina came back. 2 investigators escorted her through the ICU doors, while security guards who had dragged her out earlier suddenly avoided looking at her. She walked straight past them carrying a folder thick with printed records. Dr. Hale stood up immediately. She illegally accessed confidential. She contacted the state medical board before you suspended her, one investigator interrupted. Sit down. Alina looked at me first before handing over the folder. Inside were inventory logs, deleted scheduling records, and timestamp reports from the hospital system. The truth unfolded piece by piece over the next few days. The hospital had never run out of ventilators. Dr. Hale had secretly reserved an emergency ventilator for a wealthy donor connected to a private hospital expansion deal worth millions. When the VIP crash victim arrived earlier than expected, Hale panicked. Instead of using the reserved machine and risking the donor arrangement, he chose me. A 19-year-old sedated patient with no powerful family. Someone easy to erase. He altered my charts afterward to make it appear I had already declined before the ventilator was removed. But Alina had copied everything before security locked the system down. During the hearings, I finally sat in a wheelchair across from the staff who had been inside my room that night. One respiratory therapist broke down crying. We knew it was wrong, he admitted. We were terrified of him. Dr. Hale stared straight ahead without reacting. Until Nia spoke. My little sister stood in front of the review board, clutching printed photos of me from before I got sick. You looked at my sister, she said, voice shaking, and decided nobody would care if she died. That was the first moment Hale looked away. The complete audio recording played in court 2 weeks later. Every word. Every order. Every lie. Take her ventilator, the VIP gets it. The room went completely silent after it ended. By the end of the month, Dr. Hale lost his medical license permanently. Criminal negligence charges followed. Several hospital executives resigned after investigators uncovered internal messages discussing wealthy donor priorities during equipment shortages. The VIP patient's family publicly distanced themselves from the hospital once they learned the truth. Lawsuits buried the medical center for months. And me. I survived. Recovery took almost a year. I had to relearn how to walk long distances without losing my breath. My voice sounded weak for months after the ventilator damage, but eventually I stopped sounding like a patient. I started sounding like myself again. The story spread nationwide after the investigation closed. Hospitals across the country revised emergency allocation policies. Audits uncovered similar violations in other systems. Dr. Hale became the face of a scandal he thought would stay hidden behind ICU curtains. Elena got her job back with full reinstatement. I visited the ICU once after finishing rehab. Bed 14 was empty. The machines were gone. Elena stood beside me near the doorway and smiled softly. Most people would have given up, she said. I looked at the room where they nearly let me die. Then I answered quietly, I almost did. The doctor thought nobody would hear a silent patient fight for her life, but that silence destroyed everything he built.